Welcome back to another Waynos Fotos video. And ENVE are entering the bicycle frame market, and they're making them on their home ground in the United States of America, which is a pretty bold thing to do considering that in China and Vietnam we have a very mature and established bicycle industry with a lot cheaper labour costs. Well, let's just roll that intro and let's just have a look at this new frame and what it's got to offer. Well, this new ENVE frame retails for $7,000 USD just for the frame, and it's a pretty hefty sum of money. So I run a survey with you guys out there, and you told me that 15% of you would actually consider this frame because it was made in USD and it was like reasonable value. 85% of you actually reckons this price is pretty hefty, and you'd probably steer clear of it because of the price. So that's a pretty good indication that ENVE are really targeting quite a small audience in the bicycle industry because of the pricing of their frames. Now, I've spoken about quality control of bicycle frames on this channel on a number of occasions, and if you haven't seen those here, I'll just link one up the top. You can go and check it out. Now, this is where I think ENVE might be able to really get market share, because there actually is a few YouTubers who are calling out these frames, and the quality control of some of the examples is not the best, and they're outside normal manufacturing specifications, even for the parts that are fitted and what's specified for these parts to work appropriately and as advertised. So if ENVE can use this different type of construction, which is called lug and tube, which I'll explain in a minute, and keep their quality really high, I think that if they get a good reputation for a good manufacturer, they might be able to take some of market share away from some of these big brands that just are resellers of Chinese-made bikes. Now, the construction method they're using is tube and lug, and it does have some disadvantages, and a couple of the disadvantages are that when you make a one-piece bike, it's actually a little bit better to have the full composite components following throughout the whole frame, so the stresses are not finished at the point of connection of the actual lug and tubes. But the advantages of doing lug and tube is you're not trying to make a complicated piece all in one hit. You can actually make the tubes, which are pretty easy, and you can make them on a collapsible frame, and you can also make the actual lugs on a mandrel. So it's very easy to keep the quality control of these parts instead of making something that's quite complicated where they're actually using balloons. They don't have to use any balloons in the bikes. And when you actually look at a lug and tube bike and you look on the inside, the surfaces are very smooth and very clean compared to the ragged, wrinkly looks that you get on a bike that's made where they've used balloons. Well, what tube and lug then allows you is to maintain quality control, because every piece you can inspect easier, and if that little piece doesn't actually work out, you can swap it out. And you can also make the lengths, and you can cut the lengths different sizes like this. So then you can actually custom make the frame. So if someone wants something that's an in-between size frame, or they want to have some different angles, it's actually quite easy to do this. And that's where a lot of these boutique bike manufacturers are offering this variability in their frames, because they're actually making them in a tube and lug construction, and it's a lot more flexible for the end consumer and the product they want, compared to a monocoque type of frame where they have maybe 5 or 6 frame sizes and it's either take it or leave it. Well, where I think that ENVE may have actually made a little bit of a mistake, they're actually making these frames electric only and also disc brake only. Now, I mean, there's a few old fuddy-duddies like me and diehards that actually still want rim brake bikes, and they also want mechanical. I mean, some people just like the feel of mechanical, and of course, if you're putting up an expensive bike and you can put mechanical on it instead of electric, you can actually take, maybe a couple of grand out of the bike, which you might want to spend on wheels or other components on the bike. So, it's not quite as expensive as it may do if you just have to put electric and disc brakes on. So I think ENVE might have not made the best move there. I think that it wouldn't be that hard if they wanted to give people options and make it mechanical. They just would have to have the lugs And I know that some of the brands used to actually have dedicated electric and dedicated mechanical frames. And this sort of stopped a few years ago, but that's the way it used to be. They used to call it ETU ready, I think was the actual term they used. But yeah, if anyone knows the correct terminology, let me know down below, yeah, because I think it was ETU. But I think, yeah, this is where ENVE may have made a bit of a mistake. I don't think if they're making these custom frames and they're made to order, it wouldn't be that hard to offer those different types of frames to people. So, you know, I think ENVE may have made a little bit of a mistake there, not diversifying more in the boutique bicycle market. Well, in conclusion, I really have to say that I really admire ENVE for doing this because, you know, it's a real risk to make a bike in America instead of going and getting a reseller and just getting them made in a factory where they're already making thousands of these frames, and it's just say, yep, this is our design, go away and make it, all good. They're actually setting up a whole production in America, and that'd be quite expensive to set up. So I really admire them for doing that and actually making the actual bikes in America and in their own factory, so where they've got full control over the actual production. So that's pretty good at ENVE, and thumbs up for that. Now, even though in my survey it was quite a low percentage of people who would consider such a frame like this, I think ENVE really could, you know, get penetration because, I mean, they're a pretty well-known name. Their wheels have got a very good reputation. And, you know, if you're buying the wheels and the frame as a combination, you know, this all matches the bike, matches the frame. And also, you can get a boutique bike, especially in dimensions. So you can have the bike made so it fits you really perfectly. And I think that there could be a market for this. I mean, I don't know what their production's like, but if they're going for lower volumes and they've done their figures on what their profit margin is, and they've not got, you know, a really big dreams to make a hell of a lot of money out of it, you know, they just want to offer a really good profit and make a reasonable profit, then I think that, you know, ENVE could really do well in this market because there is a lot of people who are discontented with the Chinese products. Well, anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it, and I'll see you next vid. Cheers.